Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to walk through on the project Evoting. So the title of the project is a secure approach for web-based internet voting system using multiple encryption. So what are we seeing in this video basically is these things. So we will state the problem clearly, followed by existing system and their drawbacks, and also the proposed system and their advantages. And then we'll get into the use case diagram, the data flow diagram, and the project architecture diagram. And then we will divide the entire project into smaller modules, and we'll understand the module by module. Okay, so let's get started now. So the problem statement happens to be like this. Nowadays, everything is turning into online, like the shopping, and meetings, the trainings. Okay, everything is getting online. So everyone are used to internet. Okay, so because of that, one of the major requirement right now is the voting system. Okay, so even the voting system has to be made available online. Okay, so even the voting system has to be made available online. So that is actually the problem statement. So for making this possible, some of the existing solutions are many approaches has been proposed over many years. Like many works has been done on security and also on authentication, like biometric authentication and number of other things and all. But till now, to the best of our knowledge, there is no end-to-end concrete implementation of the voting division. Okay, so that is for the IEEE author claims. So we will say that till now we don't have any end-to-end implementation of the voting system. So even now, if you want to vote for any candidate in any Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha or any BBMP elections as well, we need to go to the terminals. So nothing can be done in our handheld devices nor on laptop like that. Okay, so we don't have any existing systems that gives the end-to-end solution. Okay, so the drawbacks of some of the approaches that were being proposed earlier here as follows. So one of the approach says that architecture for one second. So architecture for e-voting systems based on dependable web services. Okay. So how actually this approach will be working, So it makes a call to the third party web services for encrypting the data that you are sending from client to server. Okay, but the main disadvantage of this approach is you are dependent on the third party web service. So like it's nothing in your control actually. So if the third party service stops the service or if it is unavailable, your application will be coming down entirely. So this dependency happens to be the disadvantages of this approach. Okay, so the second drawback happens to be in one of the solution called study on electronic voting system using blind signature for anonymity. Okay, this is an approach that has been proposed, but this approach will be suffering from denial of service attack. Okay, like n number of people can flood the system at any point of time, bringing down the system. For even the legitimate users, the system might not respond at time. Okay, so we call it as a denial of service. So one more solution was from the paper called ensuring voters and candidates confidentiality in e-voting systems. But this approach will be suffering from the drawback where voting has to be done only at particular terminals. So the users, it's an online voting only, but that online systems will be installed in the terminals. So there you need to go and cast your vote. Okay, you cannot access those voting system in your device. You need to go to the terminal only, and you need to access it online. Okay. And one more approach says that vote verification through open standard. Okay, it's still a roadmap, meaning what so we still have to investigate the combination of technological and procedural solutions. Okay, so it has not been validated yet, so you cannot consider this as an end-to-end solution. Okay, so these are the drawbacks of the existing solutions. So what are we going to propose is we are going to propose an end-to-end practical application and we will be using cryptographic and digital signature scheme for authentication. Okay, and also we will be providing the one-time password verification scheme, okay, for ensuring the voter is genuine or not. So because one who claims that is a person X, we need to make sure is a real person X. So for that purpose, we will be implementing this OTP verification scheme, where the one-time password will be sent in email, and the user will be uh, entering that OTP into our system. That way, we are authenticating him. Okay. Of course, this will also be preventing the denial of service attack. Like only legitimate users will be logging in, and he will be casting the vote. So advantages of our approach happens to be we are providing a end-to-end implementation, so it can be readily used. Okay, and no need of any third-party web services call. Everything will be embedded within our application only, and it provides a denial of service attack through our OTP verification scheme. And of course, the voting can be done on any device. Okay, even from your mobile device, you people can cast your vote. Okay. And also we are going to provide implementation of election commission portal. So through this additional election commission portal, we give special privileges for the admin who are conducting the elections. So they can create the election, they can see the results of election, they can add the participants, they can edit the participants, all those things they can do. Okay, so this is about the advantages of our proposed approach. Okay, so now let us get into this diagram, the use case diagram, data flow diagram, and architecture diagram. The use case diagram of this, project looks like this. If you can see, we are going to build, a system for two users. Okay, there will be the one called voter, and there will be one more user called election admin. Okay, I mean election commission admin, EC admin. So, election commission admin can perform the admin based operation, like he can approve the clients. He should be approving the voters. So he should be verifying the documents. I mean, we are going to upload the documents from the voter, and we'll be submitting it to the portal. But the election commission admin have to validate whether that documents are proper or not. Then he will be approving the voters. Okay, that and all you need to do. And also you will be given access to election process. Like you can create the new election, you can add the participants to the new elections, you can create the parties like Congress, BJP, like parties and all you can create through this component. Okay, and also you will be given access to the election analytics. So the election analytics means the result of the election also you will be able to see. Okay, so the same component is also shared with the voter as well. So the result will also be available to the one who have voted. Okay, the end users. Okay, so and the voter will have an access to portal access and registration component. So through this you can request a new account. Okay, so but as soon as the user requests a new account, so that will be sent to the EC admin. Through this admin operation component, you have to approve first. You need to verify the documents and then you need to approve. Only after that the user can cast a vote. Okay, you can cast a vote only after approval. So and then you can also look up the election. Okay, look up the election meaning which election is forthcoming, which is ongoing, the result of the previous election, result of the last year election, all those things and all you can look up. Okay, and also you will be using the OTP generation. Like we'll have a component called OTP generation before he casts a vote. Okay, and also before he logs into our portal. Also before he looks up any election, he will be required to provide the one-time password. Okay, so that's about the use case diagram. So now coming to the project data flow diagram. So we will be requiring the database in our project for sure, because we are storing the user voter information, the election information, the result information, the party information, the participants information, all those things and all will be present in the database. So whenever we create the database, of course we will be creating a DAO layer for that. Okay, and hope you people know what actually a DAO layer and all. So this was a part of our basic training. Okay, so this database will actually be shared between two components. So this is a different application called election portal, and this will be a different application called election admin. Okay, so if you can see from the election voting ballot end, voter registration component will be there, so which will actually register a new voter through one-time password generator, and also you will be sharing the password in an email. One-time password will be shared in an email. Okay, and also there will be a portal access like login and logout. Okay, so even for login the user will have to enter the one-time password that he got through an email. Okay, so and the user will also be able to cast his vote. So even for casting, you can see we are sending that key and also the password in an email, so that you need to share it. Okay, so and also we are going to provide a component called election lookup. So election lookup also will be accessing the database, because the list of all the elections will be stored in the database. So it will fetch the details from the database and it will be showing up. Okay. Even the voter registration also will be storing the user information in the database. Even the vote casting the vote also will be storing the data in the database. Right, and also the election analytics also require the use of database, because election analytics like results and all will be stored in the database. So it will pull the results from the database and it will be displaying the results over there. Okay, so this is from the voting ballot end. Now with the voting server end, there are three major components. One is the election analytics, I mean the results of the elections. One is the admin based operations like approving or rejecting the voter, and another is the election process, like creating the new election, adding the participants, creating the party, like that. So all the three things will be requiring the access to the database. So here I have mentioned more about that. So the election analytics indicates the result and the report of the elections. Admin based operations in the sense granting the access to the user and looking at how many users are currently been registered, and if you want to delete one of the user you can do it. And election processes, you can start a new election, you can close that new election, and you can create a new election. Okay, so that's about the data flow diagram. And coming to the architecture diagram just explains in each how many layers we have in our project, and in each layer what are we going to do. Okay, so there will be two projects as I told you in our in our system. One is called the voting ballot in the voter end, and another one will be the voting server in the election commission end. Okay, so there will be a secured channel that will be established between voting ballot and voting server. So, and the layers what we have is the database. The least possible layer is the database. So here we'll be having the database to store the user information and the OTP. Here we'll be having the database to store the data about the election process. Okay, and on top of that we'll be having a service layer, I mean business logic layer. So on the voting ballot end, we'll be providing that registration component, access layer component, OTP component, and casting component. All those things will be implemented here as a business logic component. So here in the voting server, we'll be implementing the new election process, participating in adding a party, creating the participants, like that, authenticating the valid voter, and implementing of security, that signature part, and generating the result of the election, and other admin operations like deleting the user if we don't want. All those business logics and all will be done here. Okay, on top of that we'll be having a controller component, one in the voting ballot and one more controller component in the voting server. So what actually this controller component will do is, controller will accept the input from the web user interface, the browser. Okay, and it will be mapping them into appropriate business logic layer. So for example, in the voting ballot, the user clicks on login. So the controller will receive that request, and controller will invoke this login component. So controller is actually responsible for tying the front end and back end. Okay, so this happens to be the back end. Okay, this happens to be the front end. So even here also it's the same thing. So if you can see, the front end user interface will be developed using Twitter Bootstrap and Foundation frameworks. Okay, and also using jQuery, Ajax, all the front end frameworks. Okay, so this is about the architecture diagram. Now if you can see the module wise breakdown, our entire project can be divided into 9 major modules, whereas the first one being the database design and DAO layer. Like we will decide how many tables we need for our project and how many columns we need for each table. That is the database design. And also we will be developing the DAO layer. So DAO layer is actually a service layer written in Java. This service layer will be providing the database access to the outside world. Like if some components wants to write the data to the database, they will not be doing it directly. Instead, they will be asking the DAO layer to write the data, and DAO layer will be writing the data on behalf of them. Like that, if somebody wants to read the data, DAO layer will be reading the data on behalf of them, and it will be returning it back. Okay, like that. So in module 2, we are going to implement the core operations, like we are going to implement the digital signature and also the cryptographic algorithms, Okay, in module 2, so the which is a part of a separate PPT that I already shared with you all, and also shared you the step by step documentation, the word documentations about explanation of this algorithm. Okay, and in module 3 we will be implementing that OTP generation technique, like one time password generation. This component will be used whenever the user logs into the voting ballot. Okay, and in module 4 we are going to implement that voter registration and access indicates the login and logout. Okay, in module 5 we are going to implement that election lookup and casting, like voter will be able to look up how many elections are being scheduled, and if any elections that which he belongs to a proper assembly, he can also participate. I mean, he can cast his vote in that election. So in module 6, we are going to implement the analytics part, like we are going to calculate the result of the election, like who is the winner, who is the runner, who is in the third place, all those things, we are going to calculate. In module 7, we are going to implement the admin based operations, like admin will be able to, approve the voter or reject the voter, verify the documents, all those things we will be able to do in module 7. In module 8, election process will be implemented, like the admin will be able to start a new election, stop a new election, and add the party to the election, participants to the election, all those things he can do. And in module 9, everything we are going to deploy it in JBoss. So till module 8 we will be running our project on Tomcat. So in module 9 we will be moving our entire project into JBoss. So that's how the entire project will be implemented. So hope this PPT was clear. Thank you all.